Hello, music fans. You're watching Death by Unicorn, where we talk about metal, rock, and prog music. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about my favorite album of 2025 in a bunch of different subgenres of rock. Last year, I did a video like this, and I did 10 subgenres. Today, I'm going to do 13 subgenres of rock and my favorite albums in each of them. Now, mostly I'm a progressive rock fan, so I don't have a lot of depth in these other genres of rock, but I want to call out some of the best stuff I heard in each different style so that you can find the ones in the style that you like. Let's go in alphabetical order here, starting with alternative rock. And my favorite alternative rock album of 2025 was Biffy Clyro with their album Foutique. This is alternative rock. It's got a little bit of the post-hardcore emo pop influences as well. Check out the track Goodbye for a preview here. This is the 10th album by this Scottish band, and it's the first Biffy Clyro album that I listened to in full. And yeah, it's a little bit more on the emo side than I expected, kind of like for fans of Moneen and My Chemical Romance. I thought Goodbye is a really catchy emo song. So definitely check this out if you like your alternative rock a little more on the emo side. That's Biffy Clyro with Foutique. Now let's talk about art rock. Now this one's an interesting one because it's hard to really define what fits into various categories. Arguably my pick here could also be alternative rock or indie rock or folk or prog. But I feel this is a reasonable category to give to Black Country New Road with their album Forever How Long. So it's kind of progressive, kind of art rock, kind of indie folk, alternative, baroque pop, post-rock pop, all mixed together. But really great album. Oh yeah, the Biffy Clyro one I put in my very good tier of rating, but this Black Country New Road I put even above that as an excellent tier album. And my favorite track on here is Nancy Tries to Take the Night. Check that out. And this is Black Country New Road's third album. They're from the UK. And I discovered them with Ants from Up There from 2022, which I thought was excellent as well. But then their lead vocalist, Isaac Wood, left the band. But they put out an excellent live album after that with all new original material in 2023. And various other people in the band stepped up and contributed vocals. Majority were handled by Tyler Hyde, and she did an excellent job. So if you're a fan of bands like Bent Knee, I think you'll like this. And I think it's even better than the more recent stuff that Bent Knee's been putting out. Imagine their music, but slow it down quite a bit and add some more Indian folk vibes to it. So kind of like Bent Knee plus Bon Iver. And great female vocals here. And I actually honestly think they're even better now than they were with Isaac Wood, which might be a hot take. I think the popular opinion might be the other way. But yeah, great album. I like Nancy Tries to Take the Night and Forever How Long. Those are great tracks. Happy birthday. So check this out. If you like female-fronted artsy, quirksy rock, that's Black Country New Road with Forever How Long. Now let's do a genre that wasn't in the video I did on this last year, but I put one in here for comedy rock because I wanted to shout out Tim Minchin and his album Time Machine. And this is piano-driven comedy rock. It's got some singer-songwriter and even some kind of jazzy and musical theater and kind of classical vibes in it. But this is his second album. Tim Minchin's an Australian comedian, actor, writer, musician, poet, composer, and songwriter. I enjoy his more stand-up comedy type work where he does musical comedy songs on stage. And yeah, this album's, it's not something that I expect to listen to over and over on repeat, but it's definitely worth checking out. The great thing about him for his musical comedy is that it's not just a lot of musical comedy, like the music part is just kind of throwaway, like 4-chord songs with just funny lyrics. But I think it's great that he's actually musically talented on piano and vocals. So the parts he writes aren't throwaway, but they're actually good musically. You could listen to this and he could be singing seriously and it would still be a good album. if you're a fan of musical comedy like Bo Burnham, Flight of the Conchords, Weird Al, definitely check this out. And I actually wasn't even initially sure if the album was going to be comedy. Uh, it's not. It's like almost in between comedy and serious. There's some good, solid singer-songwriter tracks on here with a lot of great piano playing and vocals. His lyrical style, I think his personality is just very fun and humorous. I like the tracks You Grew on Me, which is a great song, and Rock and Roll Nerd is another great song that I feel like it's basically about me, so I can definitely identify with him for it. And yeah, he's Tim's just a funny guy and seems relatable. And I really enjoyed this album, Time Machine by Tim Minchin. I put it in my very good tier rating. Now let's get to another genre that I don't talk about much. Not really my genre, but I wanted to mention it: country rock. And there's a release from Ringo Starr called Look Up that I listened to that kind of falls into this genre. It's probably the only country rock album I listened to this year, so by default gets my country rock crown. But I'd still give it a good tier album. It's better than average. It's definitely not cream of the crop. Ringo might be a little bit past his songwriting prime at this point, but it is his 21st solo album, and of course Ringo Starr is the former drummer for the Beatles, so he's legendary. I've got his picture up right there. Um, so had to check it out because I love the Beatles. I didn't have super high expectations from his solo album here, especially knowing that it would be kind of country rock. Pretty standard, but good country rock album. Though it's not a style of music I usually enjoy or listen to much, Ringo's voice still sounds really great for his age. His vocal melodies are catchy as always. He was working with great guest collaborators who all perform well. Female vocals on the album are all well done. Track that stood out to me as a great track was String Theory, and then the rest of the tracks were good, but nothing I'd really go back to. It's about what you'd expect from Ringo Starr making a country rock album, so if you're already going to check it out, you will. If you're not going to. Not a miss, but not a big hit. Just kind of middle of the road, pretty good country rock album. But if you do like the country rock style, I definitely recommend checking it out. It's obviously better than just rolling the dice and listening to an average country rock album, so I'll still call it good. Ringo Starr with Look Up. Now let's dive over to folk rock. And for this one, I've got another kind of legacy artist, Robert Plant, and his new band, Saving Grace, putting out an album called Saving Grace. And this is more of a folk rock with Americana, a bit of country and blues rock in there too. This is Robert Plant's 12th solo album. Of course, he's the English singer of Led Zeppelin fame. And I enjoyed this, but again, folk rock's not really my style. One track that I really enjoyed, though, was Everybody's Song. It has more of a Middle Eastern vibe to it, so I really liked that one. It was kind of unique on the album. And I put this in my good tier. So check out Saving Grace by Robert Plant if you like folk rock. Now, another one is funk rock, a genre that I'm not too big on either, but I did hear one this year that I thought was pretty cool. It was by this band TWRP, and it's called The Longest Weekend. And this is funk rock with electronic, jazz fusion, and pop influences. And they're a Canadian band, so I love to support fellow Canadians. And this is their 7th album. Again, funk rock's not my usual style, but I really enjoyed this. The guitar playing's great, and got to give a shout out to Notes Reviews for putting this one on my radar. I'd never heard of this band before, but I found it on the Notes Reviews channel and was like, hey, a Canadian band playing funk, not my usual thing, but maybe I'll check it out. And yeah, I enjoyed it. I put it in my very good tier. That's TWRP, The Longest Weekend. And now we're into hard rock. With hard rock, I've got Ghost and their album Skeleta. This is hard rock. Sometimes people call them a metal band. It almost borders on heavy metal, but there's a lot of pop influences in here, kind of arena rock style stuff, the kind of 80s sounding. And this is the 6th album by this Swedish band, and I think everything Ghost has released is very good, and this also gets a very good tier rating, but they've never quite blown my mind or just managed to become one of my favorite bands. They're a band that I always follow and check out of curiosity, but nothing from them has ever been like mind-blowingly good for me, like some people say it is. So they got really popular. They have some interesting lore. They wear costumes. They have some good riffs and catchy hooks for sure. I can understand why they're popular. They're catchy and they're entertaining. I've seen them live before, and but before they were really big, I saw them open for Opeth. And from their look and their satanic lyrical themes, I kind of expected them to be a lot more brutal and extreme musically. But this is basically pop, kind of hard rock, almost metal, hardly even metal, really. But Ghost is still a good band. They're very popular, and I'm always curious to hear what they do, even though I think they're slightly overrated. Well, this album was pretty much exactly what I expected. Very good, very catchy hard rock album, reminiscent of 80s hard rock, even some glam metal, but with more modern sounding heavy riffs. If you want to hear something that sounds like Blue Oyster Cult, Journey, Motley Crue, and Black Sabbath all mixed together, with some moments where there's heavy riffs almost going towards Opeth and Metallica level heaviness, definitely check this hard rock album out. It's Skeleton by Ghost. Now we're at indie rock. And for indie rock, I've got one by Bon Iver called Sable Fable. And this is indie rock. It's got folk, electronic, art rock, pop, soul, alternative, R&B influences in there. Check out the track If Only I Could Wait for a preview here. That's a beautiful track. And this is the fifth album by Bon Iver. They're American, and I think their first four albums are also excellent. They're very consistent. One of my favorites, if not my favorite, indie rock bands. And I put this one in my excellent tier. And yeah, this might be my favorite of the ones that I've mentioned in this video so far. This album's a continuation of the Sable EP from 2024, which was very good. And it actually includes all those tracks as a separate disc. And yeah, some of the other great tracks besides If Only I Could Wait were Speyside, Short Story, and Everything is Peaceful Love. And the track, I thought the track Day One sounds a lot like See You Again by Wiz Khalifa to me, but it's still pretty good. So check out Sable Fable by Bon Iver if you like folky, electronic-y, artsy, poppy indie rock. And speaking of poppy, next I'm moving on to pop rock. And for this one, I've put Elton John and Brandi Carlile with their album Who Believes in Angels. And this is pop rock with blues, country, folk, and alternative influences. And I put this one in my good tier. Obviously, this isn't peak Elton John or anything like that, but he is a legendary British singer, songwriter, and pianist. And he's collaborating here with the American singer, songwriter, and producer Brandi Carlile. And the two tracks I heard ahead of the release of this album were Swing for the Fences and Who Believes in Angels, both great duets between Elton and Brandi, emotional, soft pop rock songs that are well written and performed. Don't go into this expecting this to be some kind of game changer of an album, but it's just a collection of well-written songs performed by talented people. Besides Elton on piano, the rest of the instrumentation is provided by hired guns, so kind of has that session musician vibe to it. But there are some great musicians that contribute to the album, like Red Hot Chili Peppers drummer Chad Smith, former Red Hot Chili Peppers guitarist and multi-instrumentalist Josh Klinghoffer, and session bass guitarist Pino Palladino. Some of the other great tracks, my favorite is Swing for the Fences, but I also really like Who Believes in Angels, A Little Light, and Someone to Belong To. All great tracks. If every song on the album was as good as those ones, this would have made my very good tier, but many of the other songs are just quite average, emotional, soft rock songs. Everything's well performed, nothing too interesting or mind-blowing, so this got my good tier. That's Who Believe in Angels by Elton John and Brandi Carlile for my pop rock pick for this year, 2025. Now what about post-rock? In post-rock, I've got We Lost the Sea with their album A Single Flower. Now this one's instrumental post-rock. It's got atmospheric sludge metal and post-metal influences, so almost could qualify for a metal video, and that's probably the next video I'll be making after this, is doing a similar video to this, but for various subgenres of metal. What are my favorite albums in each subgenre? And yeah, this one I decided to put in the rock side, but could have potentially been post metal. It's like right on the border between post rock and post metal. And We Lost the Sea is an Italian band. This is their fifth album. And if you're a fan of Cult of Luna and Explosions in the Sky, check it out. It's not quite as heavy as Cult of Luna, and it's purely instrumental, so you don't get any vocals or harsh vocals or screams. But it's kind of in between, like Explosions in the Sky being that soft and beautiful, definitely not metal at all, versus Cult of Luna being more like sludgy, doomy, and gloomy, and kind of drony metal. It's kind of in between those two sounds. There's only 6 tracks here on this album, but it's an hour, 10 minutes long. So the last track here is a 27-minute epic, and the fourth track is a 13.5-minute epic. So they go for these really long songs that take you on a voyage. If that sounds good to you, check out A Single Flower by We Lost the Sea, a post-rock album that made my very good tier rating this year in 2025, and my favorite post-rock album. Now let's get to my favorite subgenre of rock, which is progressive rock. And my pick here is my masterpiece pick. It's my favorite album that I'm going to mention in this video, and featured very highly in my top 25 albums overall. You know, a lot of the ones in my top 25 albums are actually more on the metal side, so aren't being discussed in this video, but this one placed very highly there. Check it out on my channel if you want to see how highly. And it's Jacob Roberge with The Passing. This is progressive rock, a little bit of metal influences, but not really a progressive metal album, and it's a masterpiece. It's a debut album. Jacob Roberge is a Canadian musician, and the album ends with a 32-minute epic called The Passing, the title track. It's mind-blowing. It's amazing. Very wild that an artist can make something so good on his first album. So yeah, the whole album's amazing too, not just the epic. There's moments that are more like singer-songwriter songs, also moments of intense prog, sometimes venturing into almost metal, sometimes guitar shredding. If you're a fan of Porcupine Tree, Riverside, Styx, Pink Floyd, Rush, Mike Oldfield, Neil Morse, Transatlantic, or Dream Theater, check out this release by Jacob Roberge, The Passing. It's kind of a mix of those. Besides the epic, my favorite track is Garden of Souls. The vocals on the album are great. They sometimes remind me of the clean vocals of Daniel Tompkins from Tesseract. No screams or anything here. It's all just beautiful and melodic. The Passing by Jacob Roberge, my favorite prog rock album of the year. Now, what about psychedelic rock? For this, I've got Motorpsycho and their self-titled album. It's psych rock with indie, alternative, progressive, and hard rock influences. Check out the track Laid of Hemley for a preview here, and this is their 29th album. Motorpsycho's a Norwegian band, so they put out a lot of music, and I thought their last 2 albums before this, Nay and Yea, were very good, but I preferred the excellence of Ancient Astronauts from 2022, because Nay and Yea got a little bit too simplistic, not really progressive at all, but this one kind of goes back. It's longer and much more adventurous than Nay and Yea. It gets them back up to the excellence that they had on Ancient Astronauts. Check this out if you're a fan of King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. It's very jammy. It has time signature changes. It's a fun listen. And the layer of Hemley reminds me of the Tea Party and Led Zeppelin and how they riff around on an acoustic and open tuning. And the 8th track on this album is a 21-minute epic called Neosar, The Second Coming. There's some really catchy, groovy stuff on this album. There's also some stuff that's dissonant and atonal and noisy, like some of the experimental moments of King Crimson's catalog. So this is a wild ride. Check out Motorpsycho's self-titled album. And now the last subgenre of rock on my list today is punk rock. And for that, I'm picking Propagandhi with their album At Peace, which is a punk rock, kind of melodic hardcore skate punk, a little bit of heavy metal influence, and that I put in my excellent tier. And yeah, I also put that Motorcycle album in my excellent tier. Yeah, so my favorite albums that I mentioned in this video are probably Jacob Roberge, Bon Iver, and Propagandhi here. This one by Propagandhi is their eighth album. They're a Canadian band. Check out the track Fire Season for a preview. And if you're a fan of Choke, Rise Against, Protest the Hero, I think you'll like this because it's interesting, it's technical, it's energetic punk music. Could appeal to progressive rock and metal fans because it's got that metal influence, it's got that technicality, interesting compositions. And I'm really a fan of Propagandhi. They're one of my favorite punk bands. They're on a kind of 5 album run that I really love because I love their last 4 albums before this. My favorite currently is Failed States from 2012, but followed closely by Supporting Cast and Potemkin City Limits. I'm not as much a fan of their first 3 albums. Those are a bit more raw punk and low budget production sound, but this one's much more polished technical punk. This actually sounds great production wise. And my favorite tracks are At Peace, Cat Guy, Prismatic Spray, The Tinder Date, and Fire Season is my current favorite. I enjoy that Propagandhi has lyrics that are kind of funny, tongue in cheek, while still being serious and touching on important issues and interesting philosophical thoughts. So if that sounds good to you, check out At Peace by Propagandhi. And this has been my favorite rock album in each of 13 different subgenres. Hope you found something here in the subgenre that you like most. Did I neglect certain subgenres of rock? I know you could probably come up with like hundreds. People get like really granular with their micro subgenres, but these I thought were kind of the main subgenres of rock. Maybe I should have had a blues rock or something, but I didn't listen to much of that this year. Let me know what you think of my list down in the comments, and let me know what were your favorite albums of the year in each of these rock subgenres, and what subgenres would you want to hear me talk about next year if I make a similar video. And if you like metal, rock, and prog music, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I'm making my year-end content run right now, so I've already put up my top 25 albums of the year, my top instrumental albums, top post-hardcore and punk albums, my top metalcore and mathcore albums, my top black metal albums, and my next video will likely be similar to this one, but my favorite metal albums in each subgenre of metal. Then I'll get into things like my favorite EPs, favorite live albums, and favorite debut albums, and things like that. So I check out new music every week, and I usually post my quick first impressions of what I've been listening to. So if you want to discover what's going on in music and find new great music, that you're watching the right place. And peace out. I'll see you in the next one.